Stay tuned and let's check out the whole McFarlane DC Multiverse Black Adam movie wave. Pow, and welcome back to the channel, Dan Who Reviews. As always, my name is Dan W. Make sure you are following me on Instagram at It's Dan Who, and remember now you can hit that join button and become a channel member as well. Either show some love or join the members club. Much appreciated. Today, something a little bit different here on the channel as we are heading over to the DC universe. So special thank you to Bandai UK. Go and follow them on Instagram as they have sent me over the full wave of McFarlane DC Multiverse Black Adam movie figures. Now I love DC and I already have a nice little collection of McFarlane figures, mainly Batman. So I am more than happy to open these guys up and take a look at the figures in hand because I've seen the trailer. The trailer surprised me with how good it looks, and the figures for movies always seem to whet the appetite. So I think the best way to do this is to take a look at them individually, one by one. And before we do that, let's take a quick roll call. So of course we have Black Adam, the man himself. We have Hawkman, Cyclone, Dr. Fate, the regular size Atom Smasher, and we also have the mega fig, SABBAC, who I think is the big villain of the movie, who we have yet to see a glimpse of in the trailer. But the figure itself looks menacing, and again, all these figures look very accurate to what we're going to see on screen. So without further ado, let's take a look. So here we have Black Adam in the standard window box packaging we see across the whole of the DC Multiverse line, where you see the figure in the front and then all the accessories he comes with. If you, like me, want to get your hands on any of the figures in the McFarlane DC line, then you can do so directly at shop.bandai.co.uk. I will put the link in the description of the video. Go and check out the website. They are adding new lines constantly, and it's probably the most direct way to get your DC fix here in the UK. Get those harder to find mega figs directly to your door at shop.bandai.co.uk. These guys will be added very shortly. The film is yet to come out. So as I said, these are just here to tease us. So let's stop teasing. Let's get this guy open, shall we? So there it is on the side. There's a picture of Dwayne himself on the back of the box. And yeah, to be fair, the likeness looks great. So let's find out. Here we have Black Adam out of the packaging with all of his accessories. As standard for DC Multiverse, we get the inclusion of the trading card with the same image that was on the back of the box, and then a nice little bio on the back as well. If you're curious about learning more, you can pause it and read it now. We also get an action figure stand, and he doesn't need it, of course, but it is a nice inclusion all the same. His other accessories are these two effect pieces, these yellow translucent lightning bolts with the wraparounds as well that go around his arms or his legs. Definitely make for a more dynamic display. We'll look at them again in a minute. But the figure itself, first impressions, people, I definitely like this a lot more than I thought I was going to. Now, McFarlane has a reputation for being glorified statues. The figures undoubtedly look great, but they don't move a lot. Now, for me, the most important part of an action figure isn't the articulation. It's, does it accurately look like the source material? Does it look like the thing it's meant to be representing? And this does. Now, it's based off a live action property as well, which makes it a little bit harder, especially considering McFarlane don't use the digital face printing tech. But the likeness for Dwayne still looks pretty good there, and the figure itself has some great sculpt, and it still has a decent amount of range, so you're going to have to get this guy in some nice poses. So yeah, this guy looks better than I expected. Let me show you. Starting at the head sculpt, I said earlier I think the likeness is pretty good, and I stand by that, especially for a McFarlane figure. Now, usually we have characters looking to the left or to the right, but this guy's looking straight on, and you cannot tell me you can't see Dwayne Johnson in there a little bit. Now, McFarlane don't use that digital face printing tech, which I think is personally a better option, especially when an action figure is representing an actual real life person. But that's not the McFarlane aesthetic. So for a McFarlane figure, I think the likeness here is really good. I also like the sort of skin tone as well. I think the dark tan is spot on for Dwayne, and yeah, it looks really good. So you tell me what you think in the comments. But I also like the actual character design for the movie of Black Adam. The lightning bolt is a key feature of that design, and they've made sure that that doesn't break up within the action figure as well, as they've made it a separate piece attached to to the top torso. So as you start articulating this guy around and moving him around, that lightning bolt is never going to get broken up by like a dodgy ab crunch or something like that. There's a ball joint at the waist, so you get swivel there, of course, and there's a ball joint at the top of the diaphragm. So lots of range there, and I like the gradient of like the burnt sort of orange to the brighter yellow in the middle as well, especially against the black as well. It stands out really nice. You've got the sort of dirty bronze wrist wraps and then bout and then boots and shin pads as well. So I like the character design. If I spin it around, there's lots of sculpted detail, but because he's wearing black, you can't really see it, but I promise you in person, lots of intricate designs on the sculpt all the way down the back there, on the legs. Again, those wraps around the arms and the bouts. Yeah, really liking this. And again, just a point on articulation, not McFarlane's strong point, but the arms don't just go to 90, they go way past 90. We've still got the bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, which are really good. Like, you can't never be mad at that, of course. He can even kick his own ass, double jointed knees, kick his own ass all day long, ankle pivot, rocker, legs go that far out, that far forward, like... For the poses you're going to want to get Black Adam in, like on a flight stand, on a nice sort of flying pose, I think this guy's going to be able to do that no problem at all. So yeah, really like it. His other accessories were these lightning effects, which I say wrap around the arms. Nice sort of sturdy, translucent plastic, not too soft, so it will hold its pose even straight like that, and definitely makes for a more dynamic display. Now, the figure doesn't have any interchangeable hands, so we've got a set of fisted hands here, which I actually think is pretty good. If you're only getting one set of hands, I'm absolutely fine with fisted hands. But yeah, these wrap around the arms like so. So you can see there them wrapping around, no problem. But I assume we can wrap around the legs as well. Yes, of course they can. They can wrap around the legs. So again, it gives you posing options, but I definitely like the inclusion of them. Next up, we have Hawkman, another one that looks great in the packaging. He even fills out the size of the box with those big gold wings. We get Hawkman on the side, a nice image on the back of the box. Let's get him open. Here he is out of the box with everything he comes with, including the stand and of course the trading card. So if you want to read that, you can pause it now. But again, this guy looks great. Now, the wings come separately, of course, and he also comes with a giant mace. Another one who looks very much like the character design we see in the trailer. So let's plug in those wings. Now, the wings look great. There's some really nice detail here with all the feathers and the gold and the brown, but there's no articulation on them at all, which I didn't realise. I thought we'd be able to articulate these at least a little bit, but there's just a peg that goes into the back of the figure. So he's basically just going to be stuck like that. You're not going to be able to flare these wings out and get him flying around. So yeah, that is disappointing to discover. But he has the two ports in the back, and of course these are just going to plug straight in like that. So no articulation, as I said, apart from like the slight twists on the peg, but you're not going to be able to flare these out, but they still cut a nice silhouette. See what I mean? He creates a nice pose, but I assumed wrongly that these wings would be able to flare out. They definitely don't, but based off the few glimpses of this character we've seen in the trailer, it looks pretty accurate, and he is quite hard to balance. The wings will make him very back heavy, so you can see I've got mine sort of leaning forward a little bit to make it work. You can't really lean on the wings because they're really soft plastic down here, so you can't sort of get him leaning on them, so you are going to have to use your balance game. Maybe when he's holding his mace, it will help him balance out. But let's take a closer look. Now, the gold mask definitely works to McFarlane's advantage here, as it hides the likeness of the actor, so they don't have to worry too much about that. But the mask itself, or the helmet should I say, looks really good. You can see those wings flaring from the helmet that give him a little bit more height. But yeah, they're really good. You can still see the goatee, of course, and you can still see the eyes barely behind the helmet. But again, it definitely works to McFarlane's advantage here. Again, creates a nice silhouette. You can see the wings from the back there. He's got like this harness piece with his shoulder piece, again nicely sculpted. That's a separate plastic piece. Again, another shoulder pad over here, separate, so it's not going to affect the articulation. The arm will still go all the way up to 90. You can see the pins in the arms, which is unfortunate these days, but it doesn't bother me too much at all. Black gauntlets, maroon gloves with a bit of gold, like a green chest plate with, again, some nice sculpt here, and even some battle damage. It's definitely got some wear and tear and some scratches and some kinks here, but it's got a nice texture to it as well. Gold bout, maroon trousers with the gold trim all the way down to the gold knee pads, the gold boots with a bit of green on there as well. And again, decent ankle pivot and rocker, and double jointed knees, which help again, especially for a character you're going to want to get in some flying poses. But I think because the wings are stuck like this, maybe like a sort of static flying pose where it's just sort of hovering it will work like that maybe, but it is disappointing to discover that these wings don't flare out, as that would have made him epic. It's worth mentioning as well before we move on that it looks like the chest is like one solid piece of green, but this is a rubber like overlay, and there is still a waistcoat and a diaphragm ball joint as well. So we have the same articulation as Black Adam, and you can see you can manipulate it under there, but the green sort of overlay does limit it a little bit, but you can definitely still get a decent range, more than it seems on camera at least. His accessory is his mace with these soft plastic spikes sticking out of it, done in this chrome colour. The gripping hand doesn't grip it as tight as I would like, but it is a nice scale all the same, so it looks imposing as he's holding it, and as I said, it may help with the balance as well when you're posing him for a display. And now we have two figures open. Here we have Black Adam compared to Hawkman, and I think they scale pretty good together. Hawkman is obviously a little bit taller because he's got the helmet with those big wings on, but they scale nicely together all the same. And as you can see, we have Black Adam at just under 7.5 inches, but those wings on the helmet definitely take Hawkman up to about 8 inches. So definitely going to stand out. Next up, we have the only female of the wave. It is Cyclone, who comes with an actual Cyclone sort of wind effect piece as well, but she looks all right in the box. She's all posed up, Cyclone on the side, an image of Cyclone on the back of the box. Let's get her open. Here she is out of the box with all of her accessories, including the stand and of course the trading card with the same image from the back of the box and the little write-up. If you want to read that, you can pause it now. The figure itself has the Cyclone sort of wind accessory. Probably can't see it against my white background, but it does have a peg hole in there, so I'm curious to see how this works as well. So we'll look at that shortly. But she will stand up on her own. She was a little bit warped out of the box, but the character design looks very nice. I can't remember seeing her in the trailer that much, and I'm not familiar with the actress, so this figure just makes me curious. Let's take a closer look. As I said, not familiar with the actress, so I can't tell you if the likeness is spot on here. The face looks a little long, but she does have the hair buns, the sort of 2 buns at the top of the hair, which are accurate to the character design as you see it on the card. The hair is like quite sort of clunky, as it's a big, thick, matted piece of hair that goes from like dark red up top just to orange all the way down the back there, which is definitely going to hinder her ability to look up as much. This chest piece here, this sort of is a rubbery overlay, so you do get a waistcoat and a sort of upper diaphragm joint. So there is a little bit of movement, but she will always go back into place because of the sort of rubberiness of the overlay. Shoulder pads look like they're hindered, but she will get her arm all the way up to 90 with double jointed elbows. One open palm hand, one fisted hand with like a little bit of green flare sticking out. There's not really much paint detail to the green, but there is some sculpted details in the costume with this sort of black armor piece, a little bit of purple up top, and then she's got like a little Cyclone sort of tornado logo there in the middle of the chest as well, in the yellow. All black trousers down to the black boots as well. Again, nice sculpted detail, and she does have a decent double jointed knee there. So range is fine for articulation, but I'm more curious what she's going to be like standing in this, because this is her Cyclone effect piece. Sorry if you can't see it on my white background, but it looks decent. There is a peg hole in there, so let's do that. Here she is pegged in, and she will stand with her feet in there, so she poses up nicely. But I've not seen the movie, so I don't know how this power set is represented in live action. Is she standing in a tiny tornado? We shall find out, but the figure definitely does that. So maybe she's like spinning around like that. I don't know. I can only assume, but it's still a nice dynamic way to pose her. Here she is compared to Hawkman and Black Adam, but she is still in her Cyclone effect, so it does make her a little bit taller. It actually makes her taller than Hawkman at over 8 inches tall, but let's take her out of that. And now she's a little shorter than them both, which I can only assume is movie accurate. Moving along to another character design, I really like how it's portrayed in live action. We have Dr. Fate, who is played by Pierce Brosnan in the movie, I believe, but you can't see that as he's got his big gold helmet on in the packaging. We've got Mr. Fate on the side there, and then a nice image of him on the back of the box. Let's get him open. Here he is out of the box with all of his accessories, which is the first character to come with an actual flight stand. I'll show you that in a minute. And of course we get the bio card as well. Same image that's on the back, and if you want to read that, you can pause it now. So yeah, other than that, no accessories. And again, I like the character design here. Very simplistic, but it's very smart with like the sort of navy blue and then the gold armor on top. Let's take a closer closer look. Starting at the head sculpt, I said this character is played by Pierce Brosnan in the movie, but you'd never know that by looking at the figure, as he's wearing that completely gold helmet covering the face, and of course it's non-removable. That's stuck on there. You do see the ears poking through though, but there are some nice sculpted elements to the sort of costume and the actual design of the helmet. You can see some kinks in there like he's been in a battle, so not mad about it. It is accurate to the Dr. Fate character design. I like this sort of shoulder overlay as well. This is sort of like a rubbery plastic over the top of the base body, that's very nice, which has the cape attached. Now the cape has got some very nice textured detail throughout it, all the way here on the back, and then on the inside it's like a gold underlay, which is a nice contrast. But yeah, very nice texture here on the cape. It's rubbery style cape as well, so it will sort of flow in the wind a little bit, and throughout the rest of the figure you can see that sort of texture on the whole sort of dark navy costume with the slight gold overlays on top, which again is very nice in person. A little bit of gold here on the belt, and then some gold here on the sort of gloves, and then down here on the boot as well. So a simple character design, but a lot more detail on closer inspection than it first seems. The articulation isn't bad either, as you've got the ball at the waist and the ball at the diaphragm here, so you're going to get lots of movement up top there. They're made of a soft enough rubber where you can still get the arms all the way up there on the shoulder pads, and that's not going to hinder. There's a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, hinge of course in the wrist. We get two sort of expressive hands, which I'm absolutely fine with for a character like Dr. Fate. That makes more sense than fisted hands for this guy. The legs, of course, not going to be hindered by the soft cape. It's a soft rubber, so that will just get out the way. He can kick his own ass. No boot cut, even though he's wearing the separate boots, but you do get ankle pivot and rocker. A little bit stiff out of the box, even a little toe hinge there. So definitely warm it up before you start moving him around. But this character you're going to want to get on a flight stand, and it does come with included. The McFarlane flight stands are a little bit chunky, so it's a bit awkward to pose him in a way where you can't see it. I've literally got it clipped on the thigh here, but it does give him some extra height, and it also sort of kicks out the actual cape a little bit as well. But you could put it around the waist maybe, or just use a different flight stand if you wanted to. But it does make sense for Dr. Fate to be flying or hovering above the rest of the characters on the display, and he definitely looks more dynamically posed this way, so I like that. While he's still on the flight stand, here we have the other figures we've already opened with Hawkman, Black-Adam and Cyclone, and again you can see how these are going to make for a very nice display already. And off the flight stand, this is how he scales with the team. Talking about scale, here we have the last regular sized figure in the wave. It is Atom Smasher, who is available in this size and also in mega fig scale, because that's his power set of course. But here we have the single pack version, who comes with a set of interchangeable hands it seems, which is rare for McFarlane. But there he is in the box, Atom Smasher on the side, and then a nice image on the back of the box as well. Let's get him open. Here he is out of the packaging with all of his accessories, including the stand and the trading card. Nice image from the back, and then of course if you want to read it you can pause it now. We also have the two interchangeable hands as well. Out of the packaging he does come out a little bit warped because of the pose in the box, so this leg definitely is kicking out a little bit. I'm going to have to get some hot water to that after I've done this review, but the character design is simple enough, and another character wearing a mask, so you don't have to worry too much about getting that likeness spot on. Let's zoom in. The mask itself is giving me blue Deadpool vibes. You know what I'm talking about with the texture and the whited out eyes. That texture continues throughout the whole figure, and I like that Atom logo sculpted there on the chest. What I don't like is when the pins on an action figure are the opposite colour to the costume design. This is when they stick out and they're a little bit ugly, so that's a little bit disappointing. We've got sort of chrome gauntlets on the wrists and the chrome on the boots. I actually like the design of the boots there as well, and a bit of chrome on the knees. The costume design is very simple. We just got the reds and the blues, but it is nicely executed with that texture throughout the whole body, as I said, then around on the back. So yeah, simple character design, but executed very nicely in action figure form, and it's always an advantage when you don't have to worry about the likeness and it's just with a mask. So we have one open palm hand and one fisted hand out of the packaging, but of course we have two sets, a set of fisted hands and the set of open palm hands. We're a little bit more grabby and a little bit more expressive, and the hands are easily to swap out. You just literally pull them off the peg like that and you can put them back on. Simple enough. And the actual articulation on this figure is the same as the rest of the characters, with a ball joint in the waist and at the top of the diaphragm, so the costume design doesn't get cut up too much. Double jointed elbows, bicep swivel, shoulders will go all the way up with a butterfly joint, legs go out that far, forward pretty good, and double jointed knees with a decent ankle pivot. So yeah, all these figures have had a pretty decent range of articulation, to be fair to McFarlane. Here we have Atom Smasher compared to the rest of the team, and he scales about the same as Dwayne and Hawkman, to be fair, but again, this guy's power is he manipulates scale, so get the mega fig and he will definitely stand out out amongst this crew. And I haven't seen the film, but I can only assume that this crew here are trying to recruit or at least find out what's going on with Black Adam. But you cannot deny that these figures look really nice together and look pretty accurate to what we know so far. Every team of good guys needs a big bad to fight, and big is the key word here, as this is SABBAC, who is a mega fig in this massive packaging that doesn't even fit in frame of my video. This guy is going to tower amongst the other characters in this line. Now, we haven't actually seen this guy in live action yet, as we haven't got a glimpse of him in the trailer. This is the first look we've got of him, but he looks very Satan-like in figure form. The box is big, but there's not really any accessories in there apart from the standard things. We get SABBAC on the side, and then on the back, instead of an image from the film, we actually just get an image of the figure. Again, we have not seen any glimpses of what I can only assume is a full CGI character from the movie. We shall see, but let's get him open. Here we have SABBAC out of the packaging, and I hope I'm saying his name right. If I'm not, I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments, but he comes with no other accessories apart from the standard McFarlane figure stand and the trading card, which does give you a little bit of information on this otherwise mysterious character. If you want to read it, pause it now. But yeah, he's a demon essentially, if you couldn't tell. Maybe the big red skin and devil horns gave it away. But yeah, this guy is massive. So let's actually get the tape measure out to see how tall he is. So he is a mega fig, so a little bit pricier than the other figures. But he's coming at just under, all the way up to his horns, about 10 inches tall. So as I said, we'll be imposing compared to the other figures. So before we do a comparison, let's take a closer look. Starting at the head sculpt, this guy is definitely a demon with human features. The trading card says it's a demon who possesses someone, so that's probably why it sort of looks like a human there, but he does still have the big devil horns that go all the way around and flick at the back. So maybe the likeness is meant to represent someone, but we haven't seen the film, we don't know who it is. I like the shadowing around the eyes and the pointy ears there as well. If I spin it around, you can actually see like a black spine from the head all the way down to the back as well. We've got like this sort of shoulder piece as well with some sort of tassels dangling off it. On the front, we've got a pentagram carved into the chest. So if you couldn't tell he was evil, you probably can now. So yeah, that is very menacing. That is actually sculpted into the chest as well. We've got like gold bands around the biceps, and then we've got like this skirt piece with like tassels and chains dangling off it. If you want to see a demon crotch, there you go. But yeah, that's a soft enough piece that it's not going to hinder any of the articulation on the legs. You can see that these just dangle off to the side. The articulation is the same as a regular fig. The arms will go all the way up past 90. There is a butterfly joint in there as well, bicep swivel, double jointed elbow, and a hinge on the actual wrist as well. The head's got decent enough range looking down, because obviously he's taller than everyone else. You're going to need him looking down, but he can look all the way up as well. So decent range, ball joint at the waist and at the top of the diaphragm, so lots of movement and wiggle, and there's a swivel there at the waist too. And the legs will go out all the way, no problem there, and double jointed knees. So yeah, big thick pins though, of course, because it's a big mega fig, but because they're the same colour as the body, you can't really tell. So yeah, without any insight on this character, it definitely looks like a demon and definitely looks like a villain. So we will have to wait until the film comes out to say if it's super accurate to that final version, because we always know what it's like. Toys sometimes are based off early concept art. We will have to see, but yeah, impressive. Before we move on, I wanted to mention he doesn't come with any interchangeable parts, so we get a fisted hand and then an open palm sort of claw hand as well. It would have been nice to have a few options there, but some details on the arms that I didn't point out before. He has like some sort of language actually sculpted into the forearm and all the way up here to the shoulders as well, sculpted in there. So you cannot knock McFarlane when it comes to sculpts on figures, because this one is impressive as well. So yeah, bravo. Before we bring in everybody for a full shot, here we have a side-by-side compared to Black Adam and Cyclone to give you a sense of scale. Now remember, this guy is a mega fig, so he's meant to be bigger and taller. So maybe this is accurate to the film. Again, we don't know, but I hope so. Now I don't have any other DC Multiverse figures based off movie properties to do a fair comparison. All my Multiverse figures are from the comics, but it wouldn't be Dan Who Reviews if I didn't bring in the Who crew for a comparison to finish off. So here we have Rabbit, Tigra, Frogman, Captain Britain, and Hal, Fire, Hank. And let's bring everyone back in on the table for one final group shot as we wrap up and do final thoughts, because do you know what? I really like these figures. I am pleasantly surprised with how much I do. To be honest, usually I stay away from McFarlane, especially movie properties, as I never think he accurately sort of captures what we see on screen. But here, like, they really do look like what we've seen in the trailer so far. The advantages are a couple of these characters are wearing masks or helmets, so you don't have to capture a likeness. But the likenesses that are here, like Dwayne, it actually looks like Dwayne Johnson, so you can't be mad at that. So the character designs are really nice. They pop when they're all together on a display. I think they scale really nicely together. So for what they're meant to represent, I can't really fault them. And again, for me, articulation isn't always my most go-to point, but the articulation on these is still pretty good. So for me, the most important thing is, do they look like what they're meant to look like? And the answer is yes. Quite simply, they do. They really do look great all posed together. The character designs and costume designs are great, and the figures just make me more excited to see the movie. But as always, I'm more interested to hear what you guys think. So please, let me know in the comments below. And if you also want to get hold of these figures or any figures across the McFarlane DC Multiverse range, then you can do so directly at shop.bandai.co.uk. Go and check out the site now. The link is in the description. Lots of stuff in stock, and these guys will be added very, very soon. And as always, if you like what you see here, then please, please, please hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, don't miss out on a video, and please hit that join button, become a channel member, either show some love or join the members club. You can follow me on Instagram at It's Dan Who, and I'm on Twitter as well at Dan Who Reviews. And until then, people, my name is Dan W, and I will of course see you on the next one.